let's explore this Dalai Lama inspired love contemplation. This morning's lesson is drawn from a good-hearted question found on Reddit. How do people who can't think of someone easy to love do metta? How are people able to do metta that have not been lucky enough to have experienced a positive relationship? That's a straightforward question, but it hints at quite a problem. When shopping for a meditation teacher, be they an in-person teacher and a teacher over the internet or merely an author, make sure the teacher has overcome some problems in their life. Some people, let's just face it, some people are lucky. You know, they're born into loving families, they are beautiful, they're healthy, they never have to worry about money or employment, and they have great friendships and a vibrant dating life. If these people are giving you advice, even though they might mean well, if your experience does not match theirs, you will find that their insight has the depth of saran wrap. And you want someone who's had some shit to overcome. Health challenges, financial challenges, social challenges, love challenges. You want someone who knows what it's like to have difficulty and to live behind the 8-ball. That if you're behind the 8-ball, you want someone who's had a very similar experience with a similar level of intensity. Really, really you do. And this was delightfully lampooned in an episode of Millennium, Chris Carter's Millennia, that was so controversial it got the show kicked off the air. But in the episode, there was people involved in a self-help group, and the advice was so superficial, delivered by people who appeared to have never had any struggles. And for those who were having struggles, it really, really alienated them. So I've said all that to say this. There is a moderately famous, now deceased meditation teacher who portrayed himself as being a great metta meditator or a great teacher of love meditation. But his advice was really reflexive of someone who's just had nothing but good fortune. And for people who came to him who may have had misfortune, he wasn't very helpful. He wasn't malicious. He didn't try to crush people under the heel of his sandal. But his advice wasn't helpful. And this guy said, when you're practicing love meditation, think about someone in your life you're close to, and, as you think about them, you'll feel yourself smiling. Wow. First of all, that advice was not the Buddha's advice. Second of all, that advice only really, really worked if you had great physical health and you had great mental health and you had great relationships and a dearth of trauma. So once again, he was not malicious, but he wasn't helpful to many people. And that has created a lot of confusion in the metaphysical landscape. And so I'd like to disperse that, if I might, or dispel that. That's a better word. I'd like to dispel that, if I may. The first of 7 enlightenment factors is mindfulness. It is not only okay, it is actually mandatory that we be vulnerable with ourselves, that we be honest with what we are experiencing circumstantially and physically and interpersonally and mentally. And if everything sucks and it's okay, it's incredibly important to be honest with where we're at, not to lie to ourselves and call it positivity, not to repress what we feel and call it taking charge. We've got to be vulnerable. That is why so many Buddhist statues and paintings depict nude Buddhas doing the hibbity-dibbity, because nudity is a metaphor of vulnerability, and without vulnerability, we really can't progress dynamically on the Buddha's path. So let's explore this right now. Let us begin with vulnerability. And may our vulnerability reveal our needs, as embarrassing and as uncomfortable as that may be. If we're honest with ourselves, that we will see that our awareness of our needs fuels our desire. Someone on fire wants the flames quenched. Someone dying of thirst wants water. These are not, we do not desire air or food or water and shelter because we've made the metaphysical error of believing in a real or imaginary self. We desire these things because we evolved as a species instinctual mechanisms that have been selected to keep us alive. Acknowledging these needs is not a spiritual failing. We've got to be honest that we are wired to desire that our circumstantial needs are met, that our physical needs are met, that our interpersonal needs are met, and that our mental needs are met. We've got to be honest, because it is our desire that our needs be met that fuels our desire for other people's needs be met. And it's as simple as beginning with our sense of self and allowing that to widen like a sphere growing from the size of a pachinko ball or a lima bean to the size of a beach ball or the size of a continent or the size of a solar system or the size of a galaxy or the size of the universe. And you might say, dude, that's easier said than done. How do I do that? And the answer is through the magic of words. I had the very good fortune to receive teachers who explained to me that words guide intentions. Intentions guide thoughts. Thoughts guide energy. Energy guides matter. Being deliberate with our self-talk can be a terrible way of repressing our thoughts. Or we can use the same method to actually use our thoughts and our emotions to fuel our empathy, our universal love, our universal compassion, our universal empathy. We do not say, and we do not use, we never use affirmations. Because affirmations are just pretty lies we tell ourselves while practicing magical thinking. Instead, we craft intentions. And I look forward to using intentions inspired by the Dalai Lama's teachings after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I've spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each sect of Buddhism so that you would not have to. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. So let us begin. So we're going to work with a mantra, arguably Tibet's most famous mantra. And so we're going to begin by reviewing the meaning of that mantra after I take to drinking. A Chinese folk saying is that warm water is the ultimate panacea. Together. Om, I invoke the wish of healing Mani Jewel that serves as a metaphor of love, and the Pimi Lotus of purity serving as a metaphor of release. With whom I supplicate may love and release be mastered by all. So now the mystery of the mantra is solved. So let us take a moment. During our inhalation, let us silently, mentally, and passively recite the following words, relaxing into this. What is this? This is whatever we're experiencing in the moment. Whether what we're experiencing is a sight or a sound or a sensation or a flavor or a scent. Whether that which we are experiencing is an emotion or an intention or a thought or a memory or an imagining. As we exhale, we strive to chant. As we exhale, we strive to relax into the recitation, the verbal recitation of the 6-syllable mantra, 8 times per breath. Now, please, if this is your first time, please give yourself permission to have a learning curve. Om mani mimi yung mani mimi yung om mani mimi yung mani mimi yung om mani mimi yung mani mimi yung om mani mimi yung mani mimi yung. And here's what we can do next. As we inhale, we can silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this, as we kick back and simply watch the antics of mind, doing so passively. As mind perceives, emotes, intends, reasons, recalls, and imagines. As we exhale, we can silently and mentally recite the 1-syllable verb ease, as we relax into that exact same mind's non-graspable nature. Let us bring, now as promised during the opening lesson, let us bring the experience of the 4 bases of mindfulness. You remember those, the circumstantial, the physical, the interpersonal, and the mental. Let us bring the experience of the 4 bases of mindfulness into the conventional path of love and release, where it is love that is emphasized. Please chant with me. So we're going to start. Well, let's just jump in. May all minds of all beings now be as enlightened as the mind of a real or imagined Buddha symbolized by a tikle one syllable seed or bija mantra. So, there's no need to actively visualize. There's no need to actively believe. There is no need to actively emote. All we're doing is playing with words. There's no need to find someone in your life that you have a close relationship with. We're dealing with humanity. We're dealing with the totality of living beings as an abstraction. So whether you are inundated with friends everywhere, or whether you are the lone gopher, you can still, assuming you speak English and are literate, you can still play with this exercise. Now, notice the phrase as. I guess it's a preposition more than a phrase. This infers that we're working with a simile. Why do that? Complex animals on this planet evolved to think symbolically. First we perceived, then we began recalling past perceptions and anticipating future perceptions, and that became the scaffolding or the armature upon which our brains evolved, or our minds evolved, if you prefer. So, what we're going to do now is take all these words and compress them into just 6 syllables. Once again, as we breathe in, we're going to silently, mentally, and passively recite Bija Wise for all minds, and as we exhale, we're going to physically relax as best we can while striving to chant this 6-syllable mantra 8 times per breath. Om Mani Mimi Yung 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 Om Mani Mimi Yung. And again, we're going to rest the mind. And so this is a pattern that we're going to repeat over and over again. It's kind of like riding a skateboard. Whether you stand on the skateboard with your right leg, you use your left leg to press against the ground until you develop sufficient momentum, and you place your left leg upon the deck of your skateboard and you coast. That's kind of like what we're doing in Tibetan style meditation. Please chant with me. May all relationships or speech of all beings now be as joyfully loving as a real or imagined Buddha's communication symbolized by the six-syllable mantra. And here's that six-syllable mantra chiseled into a stone in Tibet known as a mani stone. So, does it make us a great big fat hypocrite if we feel cranky but that we chant this prayer? No. We're not lying to ourselves about what we're feeling. We're not lying to others about what we're feeling. But we're choosing to wish others well despite feeling like Oscar the Grouch. Because we, as adults who recognize there's a difference between emotion and volition, between feeling and wishing. We cannot help, there's no healthy way to choose what we feel. But we can choose what we will through the cunning use of words. Om mani me me yung, 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 om mani me me yung. And again, let us rest. There is a myth that for something to be effective, it must be difficult. Einstein disagreed with that. Word on the street is that he once quipped that any educated idiot can make things more difficult, more violent, more complicated, but that it takes a lot of courage and a little bit of genius to move in the opposite direction. Remember, in the second to the final passage of the Satipatthana meditation manual, the Buddha taught that full enlightenment could be accomplished in less than 7 years, or 7 quarters, or 7 months, or 7 fortnights, or 7 weeks, or even 7 days. Buddha never meant for this to be difficult or impossible. Together. May all bodies or forms of all beings now enjoy the beautiful health seen in Buddha's statuary, depicting the blissful body of a real or imagined Yadaman archetype of enlightenment such as Chenrezig. Om mani me me yung, 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 om mani me me yung. Let us rest in the awareness of mind. Let us rest in the ungraspable nature of mind. May all circumstances or lots of all beings now have the good fortune open. As a Buddha's real or imagined paradise, pure land or Vanti. Oh, this is an editing opportunity I choose to seize upon. Please bear with me. I'm going to replace that image with a different one. Let's click pictures and Buddhist yoga and Chinre Zig and Potala, and let's hit wrap text behind text. Let's scroll up and let's adjust. Whoops. Okay. Now let's scroll down. And again adjust. And replace. Let's make sure that fits okay. And scooch it down. That'll work. Okay. May all circumstances or lots of all beings now have the good fortune or boon. As a Buddha's real or imagined paradise, pure land or Vanti. If that was redundant. Okay. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. As we inhale, let us silently and mentally, let us play with the only label we'll ever need, the demonstrative pronoun this. As we do so, let us kick back and watch the antics of our mind as it perceives, emotes, intends, reasons, recalls, and imagines. As we exhale, we can silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease as we find ourselves automatically relaxing into this exact same mind's non-graspable nature. So here's something that I find useful. Perhaps you'll find it useful as well. I refer to this as the Bengali crease counting. So what I'm going to do right now is count rounds. I'm going to count, assuming a round is just one inhalation followed by an exhalation. And I'm going to count this round by advancing the tip of my left thumb during each inhalation, beginning with the left little finger. Please practice with me. For the next 4 rounds, I'm going to count upon the creases and tip of my left ring finger. All the while silently and mentally reciting this ease. Let us continue counting upon the creases and tips of our left middle finger. And let us continue counting on the creases and tips of our left index finger. As with any new skill, the first time we do it, it's going to be ungainly, but persist with it at least 5 minutes a day, every 12 hours or so, and within a week or two, it'll feel like old hat. I like to refer to this as Bengali crease counting. And while we're on the subject, let's talk about sitting. Most of us raised on this continent and in this century are accustomed to neither Bengali crease counting or sitting on the floor sustainably. There's a lot we can learn from this statue. Notice the legs are not tortuously twisted into a pretzel. One lower leg is simply resting upon the other. If you have, ask anybody who's ever attended ballet class, and they will remind you that these knees are only hinge joints. It is our hips that are ball joints. Therefore, we must never force any joints, especially our knees. Sit in a semblance of this, and let gravity do its work for as little as 5 minutes every 12 hours or so. And with a week or two, your body will remember how to sit this way, the way every toddler can sit. And so we can start the first week practicing 5 minutes every 12 hours or so. The second week, we could bump it up to 10 minutes every 12 hours or so. The third week, you could bump it up to 15, and the fourth week, you could bump it up by an additional 5 minutes to 20. I'm sure you see a pattern here. By the conclusion of the 15th week, you could become so comfortable that sitting for a 15-minute lesson and a 60-minute practice becomes child's play, because you progressed incrementally over 15 weeks. It is less stressful for you, your body, your mind, your pets, your partner, your children, or your coworkers. Now let us view release through a physiological lens as we bring the experience of the 4 bases of mindfulness. For those of you just turning in, the 4 bases of mindfulness would be the circumstantial and the physical and the interpersonal and the mental. The Buddha was fond of this. He called it Satipatthana, or the 4 bases of mindfulness. We're going to bring these 4 bases of mindfulness into the ultimate path of love and release, where it is release that is emphasized. And again, we're going to work with similes and metaphors, not because we're elitist, but simply because complex life forms on this planet evolve to think symbolically. And by skillfully using figurative language, it can accelerate our spiritual evolution. Please chant with me. Rather than indulging or controlling tendencies with the follies of active visualization, emotion, magic, and belief, we could just recite these wise words in harmony with our breathing and allow our subconscious to do the heavy lifting. Let us sidestep the rigidity that confuses metaphor for statements literal, and relax into the flexibility that savors the chance explaining metaphors as similes. I found doing so is far less confusing. Together. Now I want to adjust this real quick. here we go. As we inhale, all circumstances or lots could appear quite vivid. Yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel as non-graspable or void as a real or imagined paradise or vati of light. Notice the word as. We're not saying they really are. We're not saying the slum you call home is a paradise, you just can't see it. No. We're saying we're using a simile. Just as a paradise comprised of light would be visible to the eye, yet non-graspable to the hand, similarly, wherever we live, be it a palace or be it a slum or any place in between, as we breathe in due to the inner workings of our sympathetic nervous system, it's going to seem rather solid. And as we exhale, due to the workings of our parasympathetic nervous system, it's going to feel less solid. And if I'm really clever, what I'll do is drag this bad boy down here and make this smaller. There you go. Now you can see what I was talking about. So if you've just tuned in, what we're going to do is pretty cool. During our in-breath, we're going to silently, mentally, and passively recite the essence. We've taken all these syllables of all these words and squished them down into just 6 syllables that we can recite silently and mentally and passively during our inhalation. All lots seen, yet void like vati. Remembering that vati is a 2-syllable Sanskrit word meaning real or imagined paradise. During our exhalation, we can physically relax as best we can while striving to chant this 6-syllable mantra 8 times per breath. And if this is your first time playing with this exercise, please do not beat yourself up. Please give yourself permission to have a learning curve. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. And now let us relax. As we, thanks to our sympathetic nervous system, as we inhale, we can silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this. As we as we do so, we can find ourselves noticing the antics of our mind as it perceives, emotes, intends, reasons, recalls, and imagines. As we exhale, we can silently and mentally recite the 1-syllable verb ease. And as we do so, we can relax into mind's non-graspable nature. And we are able to do that thanks to the workings of our parasympathetic nervous system. Please chant with me. Oopsie, that's weird. As we inhale, all bodies or forms could feel quite sensual. Oh, this is an editing opportunity. It would appear. Let's go back over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. As we inhale, all bodies and forms. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Could feel quite sensual. I'm going to drag this bad boy down here and see if that makes more room for my face. And I'm going to tug at the corner of this image, see if that helps. Cowabunga. Okay, here we go. As we inhale, all bodies or forms could feel quite sensual. Yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel as non-graspable or void as... Oops. Don't I feel silly? Let's try this again. And let's reduce this. Okay. So we're going to drag this over yonder. That'll work. That's close enough for government work. Here we go. As we inhale, all bodies or forms could feel quite sensual. Yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel as non-graspable or void as a real or imagined archetypal item of light. Notice the cunning words of similes. Ooh, look at this. Okay, thank you for your patience. And if you've just tuned in during our inhalation, we're going to silently, mentally, and passively recite this 8-syllable essentialization of this Mishigas right here. During our exhalation, we're going to physically relax as best we can, while striving to chant this 6-syllable mantra 8 times per breath. And please give yourself permission to have a learning curve. I assure you, if you do this wrong, the earth is not going to open up like an enormous Venus flytrap and swallow you whole. That hardly ever happens to any of my students. Om mani mimi yung 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 om mani mimi yung. And now let us rest in the non-graspable nature of mind. That was the wrong button. Let's try this one over here and try that again. Okay. Wrong lever. And please chant with me. As we inhale the interpersonal experience. Oh boy, this is another editing opportunity. So let's see if this bad boy works. Oh, that'll work sufficiently. Okay. As we inhale the interpersonal experience of communication or speech could sound quite resounding. Yet as we relax into our exhalation, it could feel as non-graspable or void as a real or imagined mantra of light. Om mani me me yung, 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 om mani me me yung. All right, here we go. As we inhale, we can notice all minds, perceptions, emotions, intentions, cognitions, recollections, and imaginings quite clearly. Yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel as non-graspable or void as a real or imagined bija seed suitable of light. If you've just joined me, so what we're going to do is take all these words and squish them down into just 8 syllables, which we're going to recite silently, mentally, and passively during our inhalation. During our exhalation, we can physically relax as best we can, while striving to chant these 6 syllables 8 times per breath. And of course, if this is your first time joining us, please give yourself permission to have a learning curve. Let's try this again. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. So if this is your first time hanging out, here's the deal. As we breathe in, the only label we need to use is the demonstrative pronoun this, which we can recite silently and mentally. As we do, we can notice ourselves observing the antics of mind as it perceives, emotes, intends, reasons, recalls, and imagines. As we exhale, we can silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease as we notice ourselves, thanks to our parasympathetic nervous system, physically relaxing and mentally releasing. Let's bring the 5 body regions into the path of bliss and letting go. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever lower abdomen we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to appear as no graspable as real or imagined omega cities, mustard seeds, isotoma, love, green light. Now, there is, so as we breathe in, relaxing into Om, just like before. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. As we relax into our exhalation, oopsie, I think I made a boo-boo over yonder, and of course I will strive to remedy that. Yep, I've decapitated a Buddha. I hate it when that happens. Okay, let's see how that looks. Okay, almost. Cowabunga. As we relax into our exhalation, the area behind the nipple that we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as real or imagined redness above us. Mustard seed-sized syllable thrum of gold light. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Whew. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever just we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as real or imagined noxiopias. Mustard seeds, I said, a blue light. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever threat we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as real or imagined amitabhas. Mustard seeds, I syllable tree of red light. Om Mani Mimi Yung 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 Om Mani Mimi Yung. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever crown or scarf we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as real or imagined Vadochanas. Mustard seeds, I sit a bloom of white light. Om Mani Mimi Yung 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 Om Mani Mimi Yung. Welcome to this morning's live stream. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist chanting, Buddhist meditation, Buddhist philosophy, or their application, please type your question in great detail in the chat window. Let us bring the dualistic 5 perceptions into the path of non-dualities, awareness, and letting go. So let's go over here. Woof. Okay, there we go. A little confusing, but I think we came to the crux of the matter, or the horcrux of the matter. Depends upon how geeky you are. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever dualistic experience of beauty or ugliness we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to melt into the non-duality of just sights. So we're taking all these words and squeezing them down into just one line, which we're going to recite silently, mentally, and passively during our inhalation. During our exhalation, we're going to physically relax as best we can, while striving to chant this 6-syllable mantra 8 times per breath. Now, please, if this is your first time, please give yourself permission to have a learning curve. Om Mani Mimi Yung 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 Om Mani Mimi Yung. And now let us rest in the nature of mind. But how do we do that? That's just a weird phrase. Glad you asked. Every time we inhale, as silently and mentally we recite the demonstrative pronoun this, thanks to the working of our sympathetic nervous system, we can watch the antics of our mind as it perceives, emotes, intends, reasons, recalls, and imagines. As we exhale, while silently and mentally reciting the 1-syllable verb ease, thanks to the workings of our parasympathetic nervous system, we can relax into mind's non-graspable nature. So what I'd like to do is, quick like a bunny, take a photograph of this page so I'm able to remember the page number I'm on for my after-class editing. Okay, well, let's jump ahead. Let us seal this morning's practice by chanting a loving wish, or percussively chanting loving wishes for universal enlightenment and well-being. May all minds of all beings lucid yet void now be as enlightened as a Buddha's mind symbolized by a one-syllable bija. May all speech of all beings resounding yet void no be as loving as a Buddha's speech symbolized by a multi-syllable mantra. May all forms of all beings sensual yet void no be as healthy as a Yidam type depicted in Buddhist statuary. May all lots of all beings appearing yet void no be as fortunate as a pure land of law depicted in Buddhist paintings. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 10 3/4 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tonight's evening meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.